What's going on, YouTube? I'm your host, the Mad, the Dashing, Dash Jovis, and ban list discussion. So, when the last ban list dropped, I did say I was pretty happy with it, but I also said that there were some obvious outliers on it, and I've been playing this new format for the last couple of days while it's been brand new, and trying out some of the new decks and seeing how it all playing against some of them. Sky Striker, relatively popular, seems like a really strong deck. But yeah, I've been playing the format, and I just wanted to go through like my wish list, like things I wish Konami would ban sooner rather than later, and approaches to some of these cards that can what I would want to see to make the game more fun for me, right? Basically, is what it boils down to. Because like I'm gonna keep playing. I'm invested in this game, and I like enough of my games. Like I have real games enough of the time that it keeps me playing for all the non games. Because also I can write off the non games really easily and be like, okay, I have a fun in a third of my games, and the rest of my games don't take very long, right? Like, but I have a lot of fun in those thirds of my games. When we actually get a game going back and forth, even the ones that I lose, some of those are really like really engaging and exciting and fun. And there are games that I lose to my misplays. I like that still happens. That skill still matters. Skill expression still matters. And what I would like to see on the ban list is less about hitting archetypes that are currently existing. Like you could say, Lunalight's Towers is too hard to out, or you could say Domain of the True Monarchs, now that Monarchs has new support, is, or whatever. Like, these are bad examples because these aren't the top decks, but like, for example, Mitsurugi, you could say, I think I have said, like, you could limit Habakiri, or you could limit Prayers, or you could ban Mirror, or stuff like that. Ways to make Mitsurugi less powerful. I'm not going to be talking about a lot of those right now because, actually, to be perfectly honest, I think the format is deck-wise really well balanced. Like, the problem is not the archetypes that people are playing. They're all pretty sweet and fun, and the occasional stun deck isn't very good and shouldn't be very good. So, but this card is at 2. I swear to God, this morning I was getting Maxx C game after game after game. Lose the coin toss, get Maxx C. Win the coin toss, get Maxx C. Right? Like, and it's really bad if your opponent's built a board. But also, you're going second. You get Charmy Foolost, Peruliad, Meowlst, and Maxx C. So there's 11 Maxx Cs in the format for going second. And no, not all of these are equal, and they're not all good in every matchup, and these cards are generally a lot weaker than Maxx C. But like, it was not uncommon for me to be under double Foolost's restriction of being able to only activate 2 Mulcharmy effects per turn means you can double Foolos. That feels really off. Because like Perulia and Meowls are easy enough for most decks to play around, even graveyard decks. You can like do your plays in such a way that Meowth is not such a big deal. And Perulia is usually just a couple of cards unless you're a deck that does a lot of searching. So, like, in a way, Perulia is the fixed role, right? Because it just encourages you to do less searching and summoning from the hand. It's not exactly the same. Their matchup spread doesn't overlap exactly, but it feels very much like that. It usually only draws you a couple of cards, and in the cases where it doesn't seem egregious. But Maxx C and Foolos existing in the same format together, even just these 5, so you have really good odds of seeing exactly one Maxx C. And for most decks, Foolos is effectively just as much of a turn ender, game winner, blowout card as Maxx C is. And they're getting Called by the Grave out of the format, and they're getting rid of Drolling Yourself from the format little by little, but they're leaving 9 Mulcharmies and 2 Maxx C. You can run 11 Maxx C, and you can run Maxx C, which can be activated through a board. Like, you've set up your whole combo board, and then you Maxx C, and you now have the Omni Negate that you need to stop me from Called by the Graving you anyway, or Ashing you anyway. Like, it's disgusting because a lot of those boards, I feel like I'm playing this game and I feel like I have a chance to play through the board. I don't know that I'm going to actually do it. My opponent might have to make a mistake, or maybe if I play really well, there is a guaranteed line, but I might fuck it up, and that's all fine. That's where Yu-Gi-Oh happens, and that's fun. And then they activate the Maxx C, and it's like, okay, I instantly concede. Like, I know I could play it out, but I've played those games out, and it doesn't change the result. Like, the board was going to be hard enough to break before they started drawing into their hand traps. The board was going to be hard enough to break. I wasn't going to be able to OTK them, so just giving them all those cards, and like, it ends the game. It ends the game in so many situations because they activated Maxx C. And they're hitting Droll. I'm not saying Droll is a fun card. I got Lancea a lot playing Orchest because people are running Lancea for Malice still, even though it's probably not optimal anymore, unless you're 7th Tachyon searching it, maybe you run one. I could see that being optimal, but like I'm seeing way more Lancea than you think you'd want. But like when they Lancea my Orchest Fiendsmith deck, I can still make Fiendsmith plays, and it does usually win them the game. It does blow out Called by the Grave, but also it beats Malice. It keeps people from wanting to play Malice, so Malice isn't actually that common on the ladder, which is a good thing. So like it creates some non-games and some unfun games, but it's doing good in the format. And Droll is similar, right? You're ending on Detonator instead of the full Mitsurugi combo. That's amazing. That's like... Or you're ending on just the Mitsurugi part of things rather than ending on Mitsurugi and Detonator and Caesar and Orchest and because of the bridges, right? So like I think the most important thing that has to happen in this format, the one thing that I want to see on the next ban list or the ban list after that or whatever, is get rid of Maxx C. Shifter's at 1. Shifter. You have to build your whole deck around Shifter, including your hand trap lineup, and it's not even gonna beat the decks that do banishing shenanigans like Malice or Ritual Beast or whatever. And Maxx C beats almost everything. Like maybe not Monarchs. Maybe there's like a handful of normal summon decks where Perulia is actually the best of them. But like Maxx C beats everything. So I think Maxx C should just be banned. And if they have to put it to 1 and then release a tactical tri-deck with 1 Maxx C in it, I'm going to be so mad. Like, just, I don't need to see this card. I know you just put it into the solo mode decks, but take it out of the solo mode decks. Or hell, just leave it in the solo mode. Like, yeah, just replace it with Foolos in the solo mode decks, right? And put 2 Foolos in. You can do that. You can change those decks around. They don't have to, or whatever. They don't even have to be legal. They're solo mode decks, right? You can get Maxx C. You can run Maxx C in your loner deck, and then that way you get to play with Maxx C in solo mode, right? Like, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But just so many games entirely decided by did Maxx C resolve. And, I mean, I'm frustrated about that mostly because I live in this world where my Maxx C almost never resolves and my opponent resolves 2 to 3 Maxx Cs against me all the time, game after game. When you're playing those games, the adage, every game is winnable, doesn't feel very true to me. Like, maybe I could play more of them out and win some of them, but, like, mental anguish. It's a game ruiner. It ruins the fun of the game. A lot of the time, the reason Lancea is a problem is because I need to answer the Maxx C, and they have Lancea. You know? Like, Nib I can play around. I don't have to hold on to cross out for Nib most of the time, right? And get Lancea'd, right? I can just play around the Nib. But there's no playing around Maxx C. You either have a deck that beats Maxx C naturally, which is like almost none of them, and even those, most of those will give Maxx C 1 or 2 or 3 cards, like a Perulia, or you just insta-lose to Maxx C. And most decks are in the category of insta-lose to Maxx C. And the decks that Maxx C encourages people to play, the decks that don't lose to Maxx C, are the ones that are using 7th Tachyon to search up Inspector Border and then setting Iron Thunder and Solemn Judgment. maybe equipping a Moon Mirror Shield, or putting some other form of protection on it, or activating Necro Valley, or like Domain Monarchs, Domain True Draco with Masterpiece, right? Like, they're degenerate. The only decks that don't lose to Maxx C are actually problem decks in and of themselves, and you're encouraging people to play those by leaving Maxx C in the format so that you can create non-games. And it doesn't really make going second better, because you can still activate it going first. So it makes going first better, because you draw into it while you're going first, and then you activate it at the end of your combo. It makes Malice way stronger, because they're going to draw their Maxx C as they combo. Stronger going first. And every deck does that now. We don't consider Centurion like a tier 1 archetype. It's never made my tier list. I think it's viable. It's more viable than Sword Soul, for sure. But we don't see those decks being super popular, and even they draw cards on their turn, right? If I'm playing my Mitsurugi Raziel deck list, I'm drawing 3 cards, at least, plus searching a billion times. And maybe Droll should go too. I'm warming up to the idea that Droll is also just too overtuned for the format. But I could also live in a world with 2 Droll and be relatively happy. I could live in a world with 3 Droll and be relatively happy. It's not the end of the world. I feel like my experience of Master Duel would immediately improve so much if Maxx C were banned. So this list here is just gonna represent cards that I want to see banned. We'll talk about banned first, and then we'll talk about potential other things that we might want to see. But spoiler alert, I don't think the problem is any of the main decks. The only engine cards that I want banned are Moon. Force them to make Exiton Knight. They can make Exiton Knight to bridge into it, and now all of a sudden any 2 monsters isn't full White Forest combo or full Sprite combo or full whatever. This card enables too much. It enables too much. It's too bad, because I like Fiendsmith Control, and this card does hurt Fiendsmith Control to lose, but it hurts all the unfair Fiendsmith decks a lot more and makes Fiendsmith Control still playable, and you can still play Fiendsmith engines in other decks. It's just now you gotta actually work for your fucking Light Fiend. Now you actually have to have a plan to incorporate a Light Fiend, right? You can still bridge in with your Evil Twins, right? Kill still a Light Fiend, right? And the new Evil Twin is a Light Fiend. So there's still a bunch of homes for the Fiendsmith cards that are good, and Exiton Knight means that you aren't even actually killing the Mitsurugi Fiendsmith Raziel pile entirely, but it would make it a lot less of a I win button. Any 2 monsters equals I win. We thought DPE was a problem. Moon is Verte times a billion, right? Oh, you stop their whole combo, but they have 2 monsters left over. They make them into Moon, and then they full Fiendsmith combo you. Oh, and full Fiendsmith combo, by the way, is going to go in through Rex Tremende, and now they've got through Sprite Elf into Sprite Sprint, or whatever, and now they've got, through Nightmare Phoenix into Nightmare Mermaid, and now they're full Orcus combo. And yeah, you could Nightmare Phoenix into Nightmare Mermaid, discard a card, full Orcus combo, but that actually doesn't bug me as much. It requires a discard, it requires you to be playing Orcus, it doesn't, full Orcus combo doesn't create much other than, it dark locks you, and can even dark machine lock you, so you have to do the Fiendsmith stuff first in the Fiendsmith Orcus deck, and yeah, this would remove some of the reason to play the Fiendsmith stuff in the Orcus deck. You would want to play more cards that would get you to your Orcus combo, but it's actually probably a good thing. And those cards exist. Orcus would still be consistent. It just wouldn't have access to full Fiendsmith combo and full Orcus combo off of either Orcus or Fiendsmith cards, right? I'm using that as an example because that's what I've been playing a lot of. And the other thing is, I think you could afford to do some hits to Mitsurugi, but the most important one is this: King of the Fairlimps. Ryzeal, Onomat, whatever. None of these rank 4 decks should be able to just grab Habakiri. You know, adding a reptile to your hand is not a big deal if it's just, oh, I grabbed an extender. But now we live in a world where your extender is this level 8 ritual monster that activates from its hand to be full combo. Right? Like, this card is a problem. And like, if these were the only 2 bans, maybe you do some limits or semi-limits of stuff that's strong in the format after we see how it shakes out. I hope they don't hit Sky Striker. I'm actually really liking Sky Striker, even though it's really strong. Like, I'm liking playing those games. Those games actually feel like games. And with 2 Droll, it's not... 2 Droll and 3 Ash Blossom, it's not impossible to beat them going first or going second, right? Like, it feels like it actually comes down to a real game a lot of the time. I beat them if they don't misplay. Or rather, I beat them if they misplay, and I lose if they don't misplay. Those games seem really skillful. Like, and also really timer intensive, so they can lose to the timer. But yeah, these 2 cards, I think, they come from the same deck, which I think is the best deck in the format, which is Mitsurugi, Fiendsmith, Ryzeal. And, like, that deck can still run... Exiton Knight, you know, and it'll sometimes be able to make Fiendsmith plays. Plus, now you're running Exiton Knight, this fun interactive card that works as kind of a board breaker that you can kind of surprise your opponent with. And like, games get a lot more interesting and back and forth when Exiton Knight is the card you're running rather than Moon. But also, you can't just make any 2 Fiend monsters into full Punk combo. Or I guess Punk is a bad example, because Punk was just playing them to add full Fiendsmith combo to the Punk combo. But still, that's even just putting a Desiree or a Caesar and a Paradise on top of what you were already going to do in your Punk combo. We don't need these cards. God, my subconscious mind keeps just deleting them because I don't want them to exist. And I think if this was all they did to hit the engines that are popular in the format, like, I don't think Malice needs another hit, really. I guess they could always hit, and since we're doing a wish list, they could always hit Link Decoder. I crafted mine down. I needed the ultra rare dust, so I'm losing dust in the long run when they ban it. But, you know, get rid of Link Decoder, and Malice becomes a deck that has to go through Splash Mage a lot. Now all of a sudden it has a choke point, and it still can extend past there, but it ends up making the deck a lot weaker if they can't Link Decoder and then whatever. It can't play through through Nibiru with the Appaloosa line anymore, so that has helped a lot, and the consistency is not quite there. But this card is also just being played generically in Cyber's slop decks, and those decks aren't a lot of fun whether they include Malice or not. And like, Mathmech Circular doesn't bug me too much. I've beaten Mathmech Circular, but when you start adding in all of the options that Cyber's piles have to just extend and extend and extend and extend and extend, you know, the Adignister cards are really cool. And they're kind of ruined by the fact that they have Transcode Talker and Link Decoder and Splash Mage. And I'm not even arguing for Splash Mage or Transcode to go. I think Splash Mage is actually... It's a bit strong, but I can live with that Cyber Slop deck being less common. And it's a good choke point for Malice, so it doesn't really... Like, I don't necessarily think you need to hit it that hard, especially because it's not that popular on the ladder. But... I mean, nobody's playing pure Mitsurugi, and pure Mitsurugi is not really a problem. King of the Fairlimps making any level 4. I mean, we were talking about Melodious on my stream, and like, any Ostinato converts into King of the Fairlimps with very few bricks. And you can get a lot of advantage out of it. And you can even pendulum summon level, like pretty wide range of level of monsters, but I'm thinking specifically level 4 monsters. If you do that line. So like Ostinato, it should not be full Mitsurugi combo without using your normal summon, you know? Like that's 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 actually insanity. Like and like that's not, we're not seeing that engine a lot, but like, you know, yeah, that came up because someone was using Baja and Ostinato and Refrain and Couplet, and they were running Soprano, and they were running one cannon because it's a level 4, and because you can, it fit the bill for the combo. And then I think they were on one concerto, and like it's a pretty big package, admittedly. But it's Refrain technically a starter, and Ostinato insane in that. You could there are technically situations where you see one or two of your Melodious cards and everything works out really well for you. And obviously Ostinato is crazy. And what they were doing was they were making a rank 4 to make Duo Drive, while setting up a Flowering Etoile properly summoned in the graveyard and a Baja attached to Detonator. So Detonator would float into Flowering Etoile. I don't know if that's the most powerful thing in the world, mind you. But you know, I don't think we need to hit Duo Drive. Duo Drive does make every level 4 deck into a Ryzeal deck. But if we decide Ryzeal's a problem, hit Detonator. And then Duo Drive doesn't matter, it's just weaker on a mat. Right? And I think 2 Detonator, 3 Detonator. Nobody's playing the 3rd Detonator. Putting it to 2 wouldn't make any sense. Putting it to 1 might make sense, but we'll talk about limits later. For now, let's just talk about bans. This is our list of bans. So, like, I want to see Maxx C banned. I want to see these 3 cards banned. The other cards that I really want to see banned are cards with Dimension in the name. I'm okay with 1 Shifter. If since this is a wish list, let's say we put Shifter on there. If it were my birthday and you wanted to give me something nice, that would be a little treat for me. But I know some people really like this card, and it's at 1, and you can only play it in certain decks, and you can play around it some of the time in some decks, and so if it's at 1, maybe it doesn't need to be hit. So I would say, like, yeah, wish list wise I'd like it, but it's not necessary. I'm talking about things that I think are like even this I don't think is necessary right now, because there's not a lot of malice on the ladder, and it is feeling beatable most of the time, especially if you go first. Just hit this in the TCG. There's so many ways to get access to this. There's Trap Trick. There's Labyrinth guaranteeing setting a trap. There's Absolute Mad Lad Backjack. There's Thrust. I don't want to see this card anymore. I'm playing a deck that runs 3 of these archetypes. Like 3 of these card types. And if they call Xyz, it still shuts the deck off. Or if they call Ritual against the Mitsurugi start, you don't make it to the Xyz monsters. Like, you think Fusion would be good, but generally speaking, just either Xyz or Ritual completely shut you off. And yeah, that's Fusion if you're on a pure Fiendsmith line. I mean, if they just shotgun it and they don't know what they're calling, or they call the wrong thing, maybe, but like you have thrust, you have trap trick, you have all these other different ways to find and set this card, and so you only really need to play one, but you can play three. I've seen people just playing three, and it creates non-games. It's just a turn skip. While we're at it, different dimension ground. It's the exact same thing. I think this one is worse than Shifter because you get to play your turn not under it. And I think it's worse than Shifter because it makes going first better rather than benefiting you going second. Like, Shifter helps make going second better at a cost. And you can still use it going first, but you have to activate it at the start of your turn, and that's a cost. This is like, it hits all the same shit and completely ruins some decks, and it will just be the replacement for Dimensional Barrier if Dimensional Barrier gets banned. So I think just preemptively hit this, and hit Dimensional Fissure too, because like, this stops hand traps. This stops hand traps. Hey, all you guys running Sales Ban, just Dimensional Fissure. I mean, I know that doesn't really work because you don't want to ban your own monsters, but if I mean, just any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead, stopping people from sending monsters, and only monsters that say discard can be activated. That turns off so many hand traps, and good hand traps too, and commonly played hand traps. And then it's also a floodgate that makes going first better, and then on top of it, you're playing it in something like Fluwandereeze or Kashtira or whatever. Like, Macrocosmos is actually a lot easier to handle than Dimensional Fissure, in my opinion. But Dimensional Fissure just, like, I think leaving Macrocosmos in the format, if people want to play the Graveyard Banish game and bank on going first, then they can just set their Macrocosmos. Maybe they'll even play a Heliod. Maybe they won't play Heliod, but they'll bait you into ashing it because summoning Heliod is mandatory. I don't know, Macrocosmos is kind of fun. It's not a good card. And so that makes me more inclined to just leave it in the format. But like, this card, unlike these two, is not that searchable. But it doesn't have to be searchable. It's just like an I win button. And like, we could talk about deck lockdown and other things that would replace it. There are a bunch of other weaker floodgates that could replace Dimensional Fissure. But just Dimensional Fissure stopping you from effect failuring your opponent, on top of being such a powerful floodgate, is just, it's really unfair and unfun, and I'm sick of seeing this card. And if Secret Village of the Spellcasters is banned for doing its thing, this should be banned. I know it's not anti-spell for Arents, I know it's not seeing the same amount of play, but what it does do when it does see play is miserable. And I think this is the least important of these to go, by the way. I think if we're talking about bans, I think the game would be fine if this was in it. And then they hit the Wind Barrier statue, because the Wind Barrier statue is searchable. You could summon it off of the Link 3, which I think got banned anyway. But you could also summon it in Fluwandereeze. And just as time went on, it got more and more searchable, and so they banned it, because ending on a barrier statue that you searched is a bannable offense. Barrier statue of the Torrent. You search it, and then you set up Neptibus pointing to it. You have an untargetable barrier statue, and on top of that, you've got a board that has interruptions. And, like, the water board does vary. It's not always ending on one thing or another, or even going through the same route to get there, but it hand looped you a couple of times, and it's making it so that one of the main outs to barrier statue doesn't get you there. So you're down 3 cards, and you have to have an out to barrier statue, and Imperm doesn't do it. Like, and I get that a lot of players are opting not to play this card, that this card is not actually that good in water necessarily. Like, it's win more, and if you already comboed off in the water deck, you don't need it. But it reduces some of those games where I could beat you, or I could play into your board with my 2 cards, my 3 card hand, and maybe get something accomplished, to games where I just can't play at all anyway, right? And then Gallant Granite searching Nibiru is a really cool part of the format. Gallant Granite searching Lord of the Heavenly High Prison. I know we don't have the trap, what's it called? The Odeon traps yet. But when the Odeon traps get here, that searching is great. But like most of the time when I see the Gallant Granite, it's searching barrier statues so they can normal summon a barrier statue of the drought. And a lot of those combos also give it protection of some kind, whether that's by making it possible to destroy the things that would beat over it, or giving it targeting protection, or there's a few things that people do with it. And it's way too easy, because any level 4, or rank 4, any 2 level 4s that you can make without, like, we were talking about Melodious, but like, Ostinato is a barrier statue. You know, Ostinato is a fucking barrier statue. That's, you know, I'm not saying that Stun should be playing Ostinato, but hey, Stun, maybe you should be playing Ostinato instead of 7th Tachyon. I guess it's still ashable, but you get a heck of a lot more out of it. But yeah, that's gross. It's seeing play. It just got banned in the TCG for doing the exact same thing, and it's seeing lots of play in Master Duel. I've encountered more of this last format than this format. It seems like this format, a lot of people are kind of off of it because of Sky Striker being so good at getting rid of barrier statues. But like, then ban barrier statue of the Inferno, because Infernal Flame Banshee, you just replace one barrier statue with another, and the deck has the exact same combo, except now instead of Earth decks beating it, Fire decks beat it. Little easier to beat them with Fire decks, because there are good Fire decks, but yeah, at that point, all of the elemental barrier statues are banned, and your options for barrier statues are Light and Dark, which are the least effective barrier statues. You usually leave some portion of your opponent's deck online with a light or a dark barrier statue, and if you don't, they're not being searched and summoned, and like they've never been really played because light and dark monsters are so common. And like if they hit these cards, these 9 cards in bans, I would call the format good. I would like, it would immediately increase my enjoyment of the format so much. I mean, maybe DDG is a weird one because it's not really seeing play, but it's the obvious replacement for Dimensional Barrier if Barrier gets hit, and I think you just should preemptively hit it. And Dimensional Fissure has been around doing degenerate things for long enough. I don't need to see you activate Dimensional Fissure, then summon your Kashtira monster anymore, or summon Exodia anymore. It just creates really unfun play patterns where because you won a coin toss, you win the game. And the problem is not Solemn Judgment. Right? Like, the solution is not to ban Solemn Judgment and let these cards exist. You know? But, I mean, this one, let's even take that off. Let's just say they don't hit Dimensional Fissure. I can live with occasionally being die-fied. And let's just say we take off Different Dimension Ground because no one's playing it. And we just wait for people to play it before we hit it, right? Like, maybe that's fair. Maybe that's fair enough. We give the stun players an opportunity to try the new thing that's not quite as good, but still pretty good. Then they lose to Malice. Maybe they don't play it as often. Let's see if it's actually the replacement before we ban it. So that gives us 7 cards. Hit these 7 fucking cards. Maxx C does nothing but create non-games. It doesn't add anything good or fun to the format. And you might be thinking, well, Maxx C can help a new player win against an experienced player. Well, yeah, but Maxx C can help an experienced player fucking crush a new player so badly that the new player has no desire to play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. It's a hard game to learn to play, and when your skill isn't rewarded because your opponent had Maxx C, I mean, this card is probably single-handedly losing us players more than any other card in the game. It's time for it to go. Moving it to 2 was a nice... We all got excited, but, like, don't just move it to 1 and be like, look, we've solved the problem. 1 Maxx C. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. And then get rid of the bridges that allow you to do the degenerate Mitsurugi Fiendsmith stuff. Just because those two engines do so much while not having any locks in them. And these two cards, they would still enable you to play that deck, by the way. I probably would still be playing Mitsurugi Fiendsmith Ryzeal without these two cards. I'd be running Exciton Knight, and I would be running Lamia, maybe, or more ways to search my Mitsurugi cards out naturally that are level 4 monsters. Or something, right? Like I would just accept that sometimes I don't see Mitsurugi, right? Like, and then those games my board is not as good. That's fine. Mitsurugi's really strong, right? And if all of the change, if these 7 cards, if the next ban list comes out and it's just these 7 cards, I would be so happy. I'd be so happy. I'd be ecstatic. It would make me want to play the game even more. I play the game a lot. You're not gonna lose me if Maxx C isn't on the next ban list. That's the reality of it. I'm having enough fun, and I can just concede the game where they activate Maxx C. But I'd concede a lot fewer games. However, I think if you're banning Maxx C, there's another card that needs to be hit. 1 Fuwalos. Limit Fuwalos. Because right now... missing buttons. Right now there are decks that are on 11 Maxx C, and they have a chance of activating 2 Fuwalos and a Maxx C against you. And if you don't negate the Fuwalos, you lose the game to the 1 Fuwalos. But if you negate the Fuwalos, they resolve the Maxx C, and then they have the second Fuwalos. You put Fuwalos to 1, now all of a sudden, they can activate 1 Fuwalos when they see the 1 Fuwalos, and they can activate it alongside 1 other Malcharmi, and they're running 7, which is enough that you're likely to see 1, you'll occasionally see 2, you won't see 3 very often. So it makes running these not feel as bad. Like, they're no longer quite as awful to put in your deck, because you're not going to be seeing them going first all the time. But also, you can run you can still run your 1 Fuwalos, and Fuwalos will still be a really good blowout against most decks. But, like, Puruli and Meowls are fine. Fuwalos is overtuned. Fuwalos is basically just Maxx C for going second. It doesn't Maxx C for going first, but it is almost equally unbeatable if it resolves versus you going second. And, having the play pattern be they activate Purulia, well, you don't feel the need to Ash the Purulia. You'll just play around it. And then they activate Fuwalos, and then you Ash. And then you know they don't have Maxx C. Right? This changes the play pattern of Malcharmies a lot. Getting rid of 2 Maxx C and 2 Fuwalos changes the play patterns of Malcharmies a lot. It makes Meowls more desirable. Like, I would expect that what I would actually be using that crafting dust on, mostly, it would be Meowls. And I'd probably run this package in some decks. I probably would. I probably would actually play Meowls and craft it and have some fun with it and have a blowout versus Malice that isn't so broken against everything else like Lancia, right? Like, and we could talk about like Droll could be limited too if you're just down to the Mulcharmies. But I mean, I think the thing about Droll, in my opinion, is you got to make a choice. This 2 Droll thing doesn't make any sense. It's just like 2 Maxx C, where it doesn't make any sense. You either want this card in your format because it stops decks that combo too hard, or you want to get rid of it because it's too unfair to decks like Sky Striker that are doing a lot of searching but really aren't that unfair. Like, the truth is, every deck does a lot of searching. Droll should probably be banned. But it's less egregious, in my opinion, than something like Maxx C. So you've just got to decide, do you want this in the format or not? You either ban it or you leave it unbanned. And, like, I think Ryziel and Malice are mostly in a good place. Again, we can talk about Link Decoder could maybe go. But that's, to be honest, in my mind, Link Decoder going is more important for, like, just the Cybers piles that are running Mathmech cards and Adignister cards and, like, just all the Cyber slop. Like, Link Decoder makes that deck a lot stronger. And in Malice, it's just another extender. You either stopped their combo or you didn't, right? It doesn't make a huge difference. So, like, I don't think it needs to go the same way the bridges need to go. I would have liked to see it go with Appaloosa, but, like, Appaloosa was actually the problem. So, yeah, we'll see if any of this actually means anything or comes to fruition. Konami's been really, they've really wanted Maxx C in the format this whole fucking time that Master Duel has been out. And they wanted it in the OCG, and they printed Mulcharmies, and we thought, oh, well, this is a chance to replace them, and they didn't get rid of Maxx C, and they limited Maxx C, semi-limited Maxx C, and we thought, oh, they're going to slowly get rid of it, and then they released Tactical Tri-decks with 2 Maxx Cs in them, and solo mode decks with 2 Maxx Cs in them. Like, Konami, Maxx C is not fine at 2. You didn't solve the problem by putting it at 2. And you're getting rid of the answers to it now. And, like, Called by the Grave and Crossout, I could easily have put on that list of cards that should be banned. But, you know, I don't think it's safe to ban them in a world where we have 11 Maxx Cs. And I think it would be pretty safe to ban them in a world where we had 7. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Hoping that Konami hits Maxx C soon, and I can get back to having more games of Yu-Gi-Oh! That feel like games, instead of just going next all the time. You know? I don't think it creates fun play patterns. I don't think the fact that it's easy to answer with Ash Blossom and Called by the Grave makes it okay. And what I did on this last survey that happened is every box that I had to answer a question in, I wrote some version of the words ban Maxx C, and I would encourage you guys to do that too. We saw the top Master Duel players in the world all did that in their world's profiles. They all mentioned Maxx C was the card they didn't want to play against. The format would be better without Maxx C. Like, all the good players think this too, right? Like, it's not just losers like me who don't like Maxx C and think it's a toxic card. It's been a toxic card for years now. It's not legal in the TCG. I don't know why they think it should be okay in the OCG, and I don't think that I don't think it makes Master Duel better in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I think it's part of the reason people are leaving Master Duel. I think it's part of the reason it's really hard to get people into Master Duel, because, like, advanced format Yu-Gi-Oh! Is actually in a really good place other than Maxx C. Right? Like, if I was playing TCG right now, I would be really happy. But I can't afford TCG, and I want to play online, and that means Master Duel or Dueling Book. And this is definitely... I'd still way rather play this than Dueling Book. I'm going to be real. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Not just to support the client, but so that I don't get my rules fucked up and cheat, so that my opponents don't cheat me without me knowing it. I get that sometimes I'm being hacked, and that sucks, but, like, I probably get cheated a lot less even with someone hacking me than you would have happen if I was playing in a store. Like, You just see that. You just see people playing on Dueling Book, and you catch them making mistakes when they're like content creators all the time. And these guys are like professional Magic players. Like some of them have won YCSs, right? You catch Pack making a ruling error every now and again. Not all the time, not very often, but it happens. It does happen, right? Like we all make mistakes, and Master Duel kind of takes that factor out of it in a way that Dueling Book doesn't. So I still prefer this, but man, I'm jealous of the TCG. You know, like their ban lists have been bangers for like a year now, and Master Duel's ban lists are like every now and again we get a banger, like every year, or maybe every year and a half we get another big banger ban list that actually hit some of the big problem cards. And what I would like to see is, I mean, if those 7 cards aren't all on the next ban list, that's fine, but start hitting them, right? The solution is not to limit SP Little Knight, right? Like that's not what I want to see. I want to play a 60 card deck and not have to feel bad that my opponent is going to Maxx C me because I only have 3 Ash, 1 Called By, 1 Crossout, and it doesn't, like, you know, I want to be able to play my 60 card deck and not just have Maxx C make it impossible. Maxx C and Mulcharmy Fuwalas make it impossible, right? So yeah, I've been yapping for longer than I expected. That's about 45 minutes. That's long enough for a video. But yeah, ban Maxx C. Bye.